I'm Cuban American. I live in Los Angeles, California, and I do not support U.S. military intervention in Cuba. My family and I moved to the U.S. in the late 1960s from Santiago de Cuba, also known as La Tierra Caliente, which means the hot land. It's where my siblings, our parents, and our ancestors were born. It is a beautiful city, and you should visit it. You'll love it. Being Cuban American, I know how difficult conversations about Cuba can be. I know how complicated things are. But I also know that increased sanctions and military intervention have only ever made things worse. I want to see a future where Cuba and the US could have normal relationships like any other neighbors who are only 90 miles apart. Cuba has so much to offer the world in terms of culture, art, music, dance, medicine, low infant mortality rates. They are on the cutting edge of science, cancer research, vaccinations, you name it. Their literacy is off the chart. They have very low illiteracy, superior education. We could do so much together agriculturally, our countries. My message to Marco Rubio: my dad was one of 5 siblings, my mom one of 10, and they all had lots of kids. So I have dozens of cousins and aunts still on the island of Cuba whom I visit regularly, and multiple times a year, my 6 kids and I and our LA artist peers bring hundreds of pounds of humanitarian aid to the hundreds of Cuban artists with whom we collaborate in our Art Roots Mambí project, which I named after my dad's dad, who was a Mambí. The Mambises were the Cuban insurgent soldiers who fought in Cuba's wars of independence from Spain. The news reports that you have not been to Cuba yet, Marco Rubio, so I suggest you go and you see how wonderful and amazing Cuba is, how elite the artists are, how exciting our culture is, how a Cuban may have no electricity, no water, very little food, and yet they will give you their last grape. This is the spirit of love and giving and resilience in Cuba that you would enjoy if you went, Marco Rubio, and maybe would help you make a decision to do the right thing, to place yourself on the right side of history. Cuba has been on the right side of history. They stopped, the expansion of apartheid. My uncle Carlos was part of the Cuban brigade, the military that went to Angola to stop apartheid from spreading. Just change the course of history and once and for all end this decades-long cruel, inhumane, criminal, genocidal blockade against my birth island of Cuba, against the island where your parents were born. It's causing so much suffering to our loved ones. There's hunger, thirst, extreme shortages of gas, electricity, water, food, medicine. Let's treat Cuba as we should, as our neighbors, and allow Cubans and United Statesians to have the normal relationship that we should be enjoying. So as a Cuban American, I say, let Cuba live. No war on Cuba.